In March, the parameters that were shaped in Istanbul can help revitalize the negotiation process and are of the opportunities, I believe.
For more is Huseyin Alptekin. He is an associate professor at Istanbul Medipol University. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us here on the program today. I mean, Erdogan made a very important point during his speech there, and he said that he believes that this war is going to end at the negotiating table. He also mentioned that Zelenskyy and Guterres feel the same way. Can we see that happen?
I think there is a significant point in that statement, because as we see up until now, many of the Western capitals seeing this war as a fight until the last man standing. But this war is not going to end with such a destructive and such a warring spirit. At the end of the day, what we will need to see is a negotiation table, perhaps helped by a mediator. Otherwise, the Russians are marching still with their full force. On the other hand, the Ukrainian will is still very strong, and they are still resisting the occupation and invasion. So I think we cannot wait for too long for this war to end just with some, battleground results.
Right, and he also said that the international community needs to do more to help end this war. What could have the US or the EU done differently during this process?
For one thing, I think the efforts from the Western capitals came too late. When we saw the first measures being taken against the Russian invasion, the invasion had already started, actually. It was too late to stop it. That was one problem with the measures against Russian invasion. And on the other hand, the measures are still very weak. Yes, they are helping Ukraine, slowing down the Russian forces, but still Russian forces are moving forward. Still, Russia could connect the Donbas region to the Crimea region through a land route. Still, Russia is, taking over certain port cities one after another, and Ukraine right now has no effective control over 20% of its territory. So the measures are not giving us a Ukrainian victory. They are just slowing down the Russian aggression. But that's not strong enough to stop Russia and to convince it to go back. So what we need is other measures, other than some, weaponry being provided to Ukraine, other than some, economic sanctions against Russia. We need some diplomatic stiff measures to bring these two warring parties on a negotiation table.
Right, and the shipments under the grain deal has been operating very successfully, as President Erdogan also mentioned during his speech. Just recently, we saw the first UN chartered vessel that was dispatched to Ethiopia, and we're expecting many more of those shipments to be made to developing countries. Walk us through some of the long-term effects that this deal is going to have on diplomatic relations between Turkey and other world powers.
Even without this war, we were having a food crisis in a global scale because of the rising food prices, in terms of problems in terms of the logistical connections, networks. We had very widespread problems, especially in places like just you said now, like Ethiopia, like Egypt, like Lebanon, the countries which are heavily dependent on the grains coming from Russia and Ukraine. But on the other hand, we had about 22 millions of tons of grains just under blockage in Ukrainian ports. So that was a problem to be fixed. So what we need now, and I think it is sort of achieved with the Turkish initiative in Istanbul, it was more than just words, more than just condemnation, more than just some inconclusive economic sanctions. We need to we fix some problems, because this war is gonna take a while. Now we need to understand that it is not just a matter of weeks or days. It will take months at least. And until the end of the war, we need to life go on somehow in Ukraine, but also not only in the Black Sea area, but also these heavily grain-dependent countries like Lebanon, Egypt, Ethiopia, and many other Middle Eastern and African countries. So until that day comes, until the war ends conclusively, we need to provide some, logistical and trade connections between the providers like Ukraine and the countries in need of these grains.
All right, Associate Professor at Istanbul Medipol University, Huseyin Alptekin, thank you so much for joining us here on the NewsHour and sharing that insight with us.
My pleasure.